this foundation, I don't get it. So this is my second time filming this video. I feel like there's been like a technology demon in my equipment recently because I had to film a video 3 times over to get it to work, and now I'm having to film this video twice. This is the second time. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Delana, and today we're gonna be doing something that we've never done before. So I got this video idea from the beauty blogger Jamie Page. She does a lot of videos on like the 5 best and 5 worst, and whether that's talking about like specific products like 5 best and 5 worst foundations, or talking about specific brands like 5 best and 5 worst products from Urban Decay or something like that. They're interesting videos, and they kind of give you like, oh, the #1 products that you should get and maybe a few products that you should avoid, you know what I'm saying? And I personally really enjoy them and find them helpful, so I thought that you guys might like a video like that as well. I'm not gonna do these all the time because it's definitely like her thing, but I thought it might be fun to do like 1 or 2, you know? Let me know if you guys like this video down below, and let's just get right into it. So today we're gonna be doing the 5 best and 5 worst long wearing foundations. Now, disclaimer before we really get into it, the 5 worst aren't necessarily the 5 worst foundations. They're just foundations that claim to be long wearing but don't live up to their long wear promise. So yes, there are a few in the worst category that I just like honestly despise, and I don't ever want to use them ever again. But there are a couple in there that are good foundations. They're just not the most long wearing foundations. So with all that said, let's get into the 5 best foundations for long wear. So the first one that I would like to talk about is the Fenty foundation. And this foundation retails for $34, so it's definitely high end, but it is not the most expensive of high end. In fact, it's definitely on the lower side of high end, considering that most foundations in high end retail from $40 to $50 and up. So this is definitely on the lower side. Now, this foundation is so long wearing that this is the foundation that I compare every foundation that promises to be long wearing, I compare it to this guy because it is so long wearing. I wore it for like 9 hours one day, and I went and I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, oh my god, that's a good foundation. But seriously, I like looked in the mirror and I was like, oh my gosh, am I really in love with the texture of it? Not necessarily. I find it to be a little bit of more of like a high maintenance foundation is what I like to call it, in the sense that like you really need to prep your skin really well, hydrate it really well, make sure it's well exfoliated and everything in between for it to really look nice on the skin. And even with all that, it's still not like my favorite texture in the world, but it's not bad as long as you've prepped your skin appropriately, which you should be doing anyways. So the texture of it isn't my favorite. However, the longevity, it does not move. Like, oh my gosh, it goes on your skin and it stays on your skin. It is just like, if all you're looking for is just a good long wearing foundation and you just need your foundation to stay all day because you have like 16-hour days, this might just be the foundation for you. If you are on the drier side, you can make it work, but it's not gonna be my first choice for dry skin. I'll just say that. So moving on, I'd like to talk to you about the Lancome Idol whatever ultra long wear foundation. This one's cool because it does have an SPF of 15 in it, so it gives you a little bit of sun protection. And if you want the longevity of the Fenty foundation but the texture of like a really nice textured foundation, this is going to be your best friend. The texture of this is absolutely beautiful, looks very skin-like. It's super long wearing, even on oily skin, but without being like really matte and dry. You know what I'm saying? Because it feels like a lot of the time long wearing foundations are like either really matte and dry and long wearing, or foundations are like really dewy and glowy and beautiful texture, but they don't last that long. You know what I'm saying? So it's hard to find something that has a little bit of both. Now this one is going to be a natural satin to matte finish, but definitely I would say it's like a true satin finish. I don't find it to be super, super matte. However, if you do have dry skin and you don't really have any natural oil production on your face, then it may be more matte on you. But if you have any kind of oil production, it's definitely gonna pull more of like a satin. But I love this because it barely moves around throughout the day. It just lasts so well. I find that the texture stays nice throughout the day and everything in between. Like, I am in love with this foundation. I wore it almost every day for like a month, which is big whenever you work in the cosmetic industry. And that one retails for $47, so it is about $13 more than the Fenty foundation. However, obviously you're getting a lot nicer texture and it works for all skin types. So to me, it's worth the price. All right, the next one I would like to talk to you about is the Makeup Forever Matte Velvet Foundation. This one dries down super quickly, which is great, especially if you have oily skin. This one, I would definitely say if you have dry skin, just stay away from it. Like, don't even try to make it work, just stay away from it. You have other options. Don't even worry about it, because this foundation is truly matte. If you are dry, it will suck the life out of you. Like, I'm normal to dry, and I still felt like I was like, I don't like the way it feels on my face. However, if you are like combo, normal to oily, then you'll probably like it, especially if you like matte and super long wearing, because this stuff, like, normally I get a lot of oil production on my forehead and like my oils will break it down, and then I'll get like some, not a lot of oil production, but I'll get a little bit of shine throughout here throughout the day and on my forehead and T-zone. And with this guy, I got like nothing. Like, it still looked pretty much as matte as how I put it on. So I was super impressed with this guy, and he retails for $41. So oily skin girls, this might just be your holy grail. Next, I have the Smashbox Studio Skin 15-Hour Wear Hydrating Foundation. So this one is definitely going to be on the matte side. However, it is a hydrating foundation, so dry skin can definitely still wear it comfortably, I would say. Now, this one is interesting because after it dries down, it's set. And if you try to put anything over it or like blend anything over it, like any cream products or liquid products or concealers or anything like that, those cream or liquid products will pick up this foundation and like move it with it. And so sometimes this one can get a little bit patchy depending on how, like, let me explain. So whenever you're doing your concealer on top of it, you just don't want to do like concealer here, down the nose, the cupid's bow, and the chin, and leave it there, because once you blend out your under eyes and you go to blend out your nose, it's gonna pick up the foundation underneath it. So it's weird, because it's like if it has a second to like sink in and like mix with this foundation, basically that product will pick up this foundation with it. So if you are going to put concealer on top of it, just make sure that you put it on and blend it in right away before it has a chance to kind of like connect with the foundation and pick it up with it as you try to blend it in. So it's a very interesting consistency, a little bit more high maintenance in that way, but definitely super long wearing. And I would say the texture of it is similar to the Fenty foundation. And this guy retails for $36, so it's around the same price as the Fenty foundation as well. And all of these foundations that I'm talking about today are going to be medium to full coverage. And then lastly, for the best foundations for long wear will be the CoverGirl Outlast All Day Stay Fabulous foundation. And this guy is a whopping approximately $9 to $12 depending on where you go. Target, Walmart, CVS, it's gonna vary a little bit from store to store. However, this one has some serious longevity. I think it's great for all skin types. Dry skin, I would just make sure that your skin is well hydrated, because it is a little bit more on the matte side, but it's definitely not like suck the life out of you matte. I definitely think that you could make it work for dry skin, and it is that medium to full coverage. It's gonna start out as a medium coverage and then you can build it up to a full, and it is just, the texture of it is really nice, really skin-like, and it stays that way all throughout the day. Like, I barely get any shine, if any at all. I just feel like whenever I get to the end of the day, like a good 10 hours into my day, I go and I look in the mirror and I'm like, I still love the way my makeup looks. Like, it still looks so good. It feels like it's barely moved, if it has moved at all. Oh, and I just uploaded a wear test on it, so if you want to see for yourself how it lasted, go ahead and click this link right here and you can see it for yourself, because I am not shy about showing you guys how it looks throughout the day. And I do have wear tests for literally every single one of these products. So if you want to see it for yourself, I will link all the wear tests down in the description box and you can kind of pick and choose what you want to watch. So now moving on to the 5 worst foundations for longevity. Now these are all foundations. I had to be fair. I wasn't going to pick like some tinted moisturizers or something like that, but these are all foundations that claim to be really long wearing, but just don't live up to all that they claim to. At least for me. Other people may have different opinions, but I'm here to help you guys narrow it down. So this first one's gonna be a little bit controversial because I know that this is a very well-loved foundation, but quite honestly, I don't get it. I gave it multiple tries and I'm just like, I don't get it. I don't get it. It's not long wearing and the texture isn't nice and I just don't get it. This is the Hourglass Vanish Stick Foundation. It retails for $46 and just like I said, I don't get it. I really don't. Upon initial application, I don't like the texture of it. I don't like the texture of it at the end of the day, and I feel like it breaks up and cakes up and everything in between, and I'm just like, what am I missing here? You know what I'm saying? I don't get it. The coverage is good, like the coverage is good, but to really build it up to like the kind of coverage that I like, and I don't even like super like crazy full coverage or anything like that. To get it to the coverage that I like, I feel like I have to use a lot of it, so I feel like going through it, you'll go through it really fast. You know what I'm saying? So I would say that this one is a hard pass. Next, I have the Tarte Clay Stick, and okay, let me just say that the only stick foundation I have ever liked is the Makeup Forever Ultra HD stick. That one, something about that formula is so freaking nice and it just looks so beautiful on the skin, and no other stick foundation has done it for me. I hate to say it, but it just hasn't. I compare all of my stick foundations to that one because it's absolutely beautiful and amazing, which I also have a wear test on the Makeup Forever Ultra HD stick, so you can check that out as well. So back to the Tarte Clay Stick. If I didn't say already, it retails for $39. This guy, I felt very similar as I did with the Hourglass Vanish Stick. It just felt like it went on, like it's super creamy. It feels like it almost has a very similar texture to this guy, like so creamy, easy to blend in, but cannot get any kind of fuller coverage with this guy. Like I would have to use so much product to build it up to the kind of coverage that I want. And I remember using this and I just came to a point where I was trying to build up the coverage, and I just came to a point where I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna get the kind of coverage that I want, and I just have to stop here. I don't know. I don't want to have to do that with my foundations, you know? And with this guy, I didn't like the texture of it right off the bat. I didn't like the texture of it at the end of the day. I didn't like the longevity. It felt like it slipped off just like that. I mean, in no time, it was already wearing off, it was already breaking up, it was already caking up, and everything in between, and I just not interested. So hard pass on this guy. The next foundation I'd like to talk about is the NARS Natural Radiant Foundation. Now, don't get me wrong. I want to make something very clear. I love this foundation. I absolutely love the coverage. I love the texture. I love the finish of this. Like, so many things that I love about this foundation, but it is the Natural Radiant Longwear Foundation. Girl, I could barely get 10 hours out of this before it starts to break up, if you want me to be honest. It's just not the most, it's a beautiful formula, but with this guy, I would say saying that it's long wearing is too high of a promise for this guy, because I feel like this is something that you would need to throw in your purse to kind of touch up a little bit throughout the day, or carry a powder with you or something that you can kind of touch up with throughout the day, because this one will start to break up. That's at least my experience with it. It breaks up on my chin, it breaks up around my nose and my cheek area, and I just feel like I need something to kind of press over it to push it back in place, whether that's more foundation or a little bit of powder or something like that, to get it to look fresh again. So with this guy, I absolutely love it, and I want to make that very clear. I love this foundation. I think that it is well worth the $49 that it is priced at. It just doesn't live up to the long wear that it promises to be in literally the title of it. So the next foundation that I have on the list is the Too Faced Born This Way foundation. I have a love-hate relationship with this foundation. Like the NARS Natural Radiant, I love the texture of it, I love the coverage of it, I love the finish of it, I love the way that it feels on my skin, everything like that. It did feel a little bit heavy going on right off the bat, but I got kind of used to it throughout the day, and you'll hear all that in my wear test if you go watch it. But with this guy, I just felt like it was so overhyped by so many people that whenever I tried it, I was like, oh my god, this is a miracle foundation. Then I tried it and I was so underwhelmed by it. I tried it and I was like, it's fine, you know? It's cool. It feels like a formula that just kind of gets lost in the sea of all the other foundations. Like, it just doesn't like stand out to me, and I don't find myself reaching for it, being like, oh, I know that I can rely on my Born This Way, you know, gotta grab it, gotta have it, gotta cut through all this traffic. It's $39. Honestly, if it were $30, I think I would pay for it. If it were like $25 to $30, I think I would pay for it, but $39 is a little bit of a reach for me, and that may just be me because it was so overhyped and I was so underwhelmed by it. Other people I know absolutely adore this foundation, so yeah. I would say it's probably different for different people, so with that guy, I would definitely say get a sample of it, see how it wears on you, see how you like the texture and everything, and yeah. It's definitely not a bad foundation by any means. It's just not the most long wearing. All right, lastly, for the worst category and the last foundation that I will talk about in this video is the Milk Makeup Blur Liquid. This foundation, I don't get it. I really don't get it. I tried this foundation multiple times and I was like, what? I was so thrown off. I was so excited to try this foundation, and then whenever I actually did, I was like, yeah, I didn't like the way that it went on. The coverage is really good. This is probably the most full coverage foundation that I'm talking about in this whole video. Like, you'll put it on and you'll get coverage like that. And that's something that I had to learn with it, is that like the first time I used it, I feel like I used way too much product and it looked really cakey. And then the second time I used it, I used way less product, but I still felt like it looked really heavy and really cakey, and it stayed looking that way all throughout the day. And as a matter of fact, it broke up a lot, like on my chin, my cheeks, my nose. I hated the way that it looked on my nose, my forehead, everything. I did not like the way that it wears. So I do know a few people that do really like this foundation. They're like obsessed with it, but for me, it did not work at all, and I don't get it. I don't get it. If it broke up on me, I don't see how it would last really well on oily skin, and it's way too matte to work for dry skin. Like, it's a really, really matte texture. I don't feel like it would work well with dry skin at all, and if you have any kind of natural texture, totally skip it. Like, totally skip it. And that guy retails for $40. And I don't really think it's worth the $40. So that is all the foundations that I have to share with you guys and my thoughts. I hope that you guys found this useful and that it kind of helps you throughout all of your shopping endeavors, or at least that you just found it entertaining. Make sure that you sign up for my email list down below so that you'll be notified every time that I upload, or once a week or once a month. I have 3 different forms of email lists. Make sure that you check out some of my other videos right here before you leave, and then hit the little subscribe button right here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in Monday's tutorial. Bye!